So when do you think it becomes human?
Um,
And actually, I have some stages of development that might be helpful. But
yeah, I mean, I definitely think like once it comes from an embryo to a fetus.
okay,
But again, it's just like you just have to ask yourself like at what it is. Yes, it's a bundle of cells, but it's a human bundle of cells. I mean, obviously, and again, it's something that I've really been trying to like debate with myself and really understand like both sides of the argument because I've always been insanely pro-choice, but I'm starting to kind of weigh a little more on the pro-life side.
yeah, and I appreciate that you're willing to like think through it because
Yeah.
it's a big topic and it's
It
a big
is.
thing to sort through.
Exactly, and it's just very, very pressing in this day and age.
Yeah, for sure. If I could share with you why I think
Please
that it's a
do,
human
please
organism
do.
from the beginning, would that be okay?
Yes, no, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, so I talked about the fact that it's growing, which shows that it's alive in the human parents aspect, and so that's true from this
Yeah.
stage, right? But sometimes people they'll ask me a question like, well, do you think all sperm and egg are valuable because they could potentially like be humans?
Yeah.
And I think that I actually don't believe that they are potential humans separated from themselves. I
Well,
think
yeah,
that-
it is when it's a fertilized egg. Like, yes,
Yeah.
that it has the chromosomes, the genetics. It's a human.
For sure,
That
for
makes
sure. So, because you see, sperm and egg are functional parts of men and women's bodies, but when they come together, they cease to exist as those functional parts, and they form a whole new genetically distinct human organism. Now, you and I are human organisms,
Yeah.
right? We're genetically distinct human organisms. So from this point right here, it's the same organism at every stage.
It's just
It's
gaining
just
more
growing.
cells, essentially.
Yeah, so like it doesn't have a heartbeat added at week 3. It's not put together piece by piece.
It just forms
Yeah.
and like develops. That does make a lot of sense.
It does develop. And so because of that, if this is baby me, then I think I have the same value at all these different
exactly.
stages.
That does make a lot of sense. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
What do you think about when humans receive value? Like, what do you think gives us our value as human beings?
I mean, again, I for the longest time I just stuck to the like idea that's like, okay, once we come out of the womb, like we're humans, like that's okay. But again, it's just like, I mean, that was a really good point you brought up that like, yes, we are genetically diverse the second the sperm fertilizes the egg, and it's kind of just the difference between exfoliating your face and getting rid of those skin cells and killing a human being.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, it's definitely something you'll have to think more about.
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes, when it comes to like, because we can agree that it's a genetically distinct human organism, but when do we associate that genetically distinct human organism has the right to life, right?
Exactly, and that's such a moral gray area, and it's like, I feel like until you're actually a fertilized egg, you don't really know. You know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, and I think one area or one question that's kind of helped me sort through like when to apply value to that human organism inside the womb is just to look around us at the people outside of the womb, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you think that all the people like in this area here deserve to be treated equally? Like,
Yes,
to the base
yeah.
of the womb? Of course, right? And I think that that's true, but I think that's kind of odd.
That like we won't treat like a fertilized egg equally.
No, just odd that if setting aside the fertilized egg for now, but
Okay, yeah.
the reason why we treat each other equally is because there's so many differences among us. Like, we have this view of equality, or that we should be treated equally when we've got different genders, we've got different
Yeah.
levels of intellect, different nationalities. And so would it make sense to say that we all have to have something in common that grounds our equality?
Yeah.
And my question is, what is that thing?
What do you think that thing is?
I think that thing is that we're all human.
Okay.
And so that's why I'm for equal rights for the unborn as well, because they're the same kind of human organism that we are.
That does make sense. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of different answers to that question, but I'll just run through a couple of them with you to show like kind of like the loopholes you fall into.
Yeah.
Like for instance, some people say that you have to be able to, like, it's that we think that gives us equality, that we can all think.
Yeah.
Right? But then I think we run into a bit of an issue because a lot of other things can think, such as animals.
And we eat them.
Yeah, and we eat them, right? Like, I'm not saying we should mistreat animals, but there's a difference in regards to how we treat them, right? So then some people will say something like self-awareness, like we're all aware of ourselves, and that separates us from most animals. But an infant's not self-aware.
Yeah, I mean, like, do you mean like a toddler?
Yeah.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, and so it seems like whenever I've asked that questions, the responses people give me fall into one of those two
That makes sense.
categories. Like either, well, now we're including animals, or now we're excluding infants. And our human nature is the only answer I've ever received that gets all the born people in and keeps all the humans out, or all the animals out.
Yeah.
But the consequence or the follow-through of that view is that I have to be pro-life because unborn human organisms are the same thing as me and you.
Yeah, like you said, it's like a loophole, you know?
Yeah, so that's why I'm personally pro-life.
No,
you
that
can
makes
push
a lot of
back or
sense.
give
No,
thoughts on
exactly.
that,
I mean, yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense, and it's hard because it's just such it's like an ethical dilemma, and it's like no matter which way you slice it, that is a human baby. I mean, it's really hard to like differentiate, and the other thing is like, you know, personally for me, it's like I don't, how am I trying to phrase this? Like, do I really want that, like, my moral, like, views imposed on my federal government? Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question.
Like, what do you, how do we go from here and, like, you know, help fight this fight, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, I think a question I would just ask back to you, just to understand more of your thoughts on this before I answer, is what kind of rules do you think government should enforce?
That's honestly not something I've thought much about. It's, you know,
Yeah. I think basically, like, we could agree that government should enforce, like, basic human rights, right? Like, you don't want people to steal your stuff.
Yeah.
You want to have, you know, certain freedoms when it comes to, like, making decisions. But you also want the government to make rules that say you can't kill each other, you can't murder people, right?
So, yeah, and it's like, you know, it's a 3-week-old embryo is a human. The government doesn't want people to murder, like, therefore, you know.
Yeah, and so even if you have this really limited view of government, like just a basic rights view of government, I think that protecting the unborn still falls into that because of the valuable human being that they are. So it's not that I'm wanting to legislate my morals onto people as much as I just don't want to kill valuable human beings.
Like, promote that awareness. Sure.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, I am willing to make laws that say that, but it's from more of a scientific or philosophical background of, wait, it's a valuable human being. Why would I want to live in a government that allows for the killing of valuable human beings?
Yeah. Sorry, I need to go get a coffee. I'm
Yeah.
exhausted, but it was really nice.
It's so nice to meet you.